In the quiet town of Willowbrook, a small cottage sat at the edge of a dense forest. Inside, Emma, a young girl of only 23, struggled to make ends meet. She worked long hours at the local diner and had no family left to rely on, having lost her parents in a tragic accident a few years ago. Yet, despite the weight of the world on her shoulders, Emma had a kindness in her heart that few could match. One particularly cold evening after her shift at the diner, Emma trudged home, the wind biting at her skin. As she walked up the narrow path to her cottage, she noticed a car pulled over at the side of the road. A tall man, dressed in a dark coat, was standing beside the vehicle looking troubled. His face was hidden beneath a thick scarf, but his eyes, though tired, were sharp and attentive. "Is everything okay?" Emma called out, her voice breaking the silence of the night. The man turned to face her, his expression softening when he saw her approach. "I'm afraid we're stranded," he explained, his voice carrying a deep, calming tone. "My son and I are on our way to a meeting, but the car broke down. It's freezing out here, and we can't get a tow truck until morning." Emma hesitated for a moment, her heart racing with uncertainty. She had very little to offer, but she couldn't leave them out in the cold. "You can stay the night," she offered, her voice steady despite her own doubts. "I have a small cottage and it's warm inside, just for one night until help arrives." The man's eyes flickered with surprise and then gratitude. "That's very kind of you. Thank you, I'm Robert, and this is my son Jake." "Emma," she replied, shaking Robert's hand. "Let's get you both inside." As she led them into her home, Emma couldn't help but notice how well-dressed they were. Robert was tall, with a confident yet worn demeanor, while Jake, a young boy of about 12, had the air of someone used to privilege. Their presence felt almost out of place in the humble cottage, but Emma didn't dwell on it. After all, kindness was what mattered most in a world that had been cruel to her. The night passed quickly. Emma served them a simple dinner, and they spent hours chatting by the fire. Jake was shy but curious, asking Emma about her life in Willowbrook, and Robert seemed content to listen, offering occasional bits of wisdom that made Emma feel like she was talking to someone more than just a weary traveler. There was something calming about his presence. As the evening wore on, Emma retired to her small bedroom, offering them the guest room. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, her mind racing with thoughts of the stranger and his son. Who were they really? Why had they ended up here, stranded in the middle of nowhere? Suddenly there was a knock at her door. Emma opened it to find Robert standing in the doorway, his face serious yet kind. "Emma, I just wanted to thank you again," he said, his tone low. "You've no idea how much this means to us." Emma smiled, though she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this story than she was being told. "I'm happy to help," she replied, though a part of her felt uneasy. As Robert turned to leave, he paused, glancing back at her with a knowing look. "I'll be leaving tomorrow morning, but before we go, I want you to know that you've done something incredible tonight. You've shown kindness in a way most people wouldn't." Emma blinked, puzzled by the intensity of his words. "I only did what anyone would do," she said. But Robert's gaze was unwavering. "Not everyone would have, Emma, not everyone." With that, he closed the door softly, leaving Emma alone with her thoughts. What had he meant by that? The next morning, Emma awoke to the smell of fresh coffee. When she entered the living room, she found Robert and Jake already up, sitting at the table, talking quietly. The sun had risen, casting a warm glow through the windows, but there was an air of tension in the room. Emma couldn't put her finger on it, but something felt different. "I've made breakfast," Robert said, his voice warm, but there was something in his eyes that made Emma pause. "Please, join us." As they ate, Robert and Emma spoke about the usual things, the weather, their families, the town, but Emma couldn't shake the feeling that Robert was holding something back. She decided to ask him about it. "Robert," she began, trying to sound casual, What exactly happened last night? You seemed out of place, like you were hiding something." Robert's face stiffened for a moment, but then his expression softened. "I didn't want to alarm you," he said, his tone serious. "The truth is, I'm not just some ordinary man. I'm the CEO of a large tech company, one that you've probably never heard of." Emma blinked, stunned. She had no idea. The man sitting across from her, the man she had welcomed into her home, was one of the wealthiest men in the country. But why hadn't he mentioned it before? "Why didn't you say anything?" Emma asked, feeling a mix of confusion and disbelief. Robert sighed, setting down his coffee cup. "Because it doesn't matter," he said softly. "What matters is the kindness you showed us last night. No one has ever done anything like that for me. I wanted to keep things simple." Just as Emma was processing his words, a phone call interrupted their conversation. Robert's phone buzzed on the table. He glanced at it and then quickly excused himself to take the call. Emma stood there, her mind racing. This wasn't just a simple man stranded on the side of the road. This was a billionaire, someone who could have anything he wanted. Yet he had chosen to stay with her, a struggling girl from a small town. Why? As Robert stepped out onto the porch to take the call, Emma sat back down, trying to understand what was happening. Just as she was about to reach for her phone to check the time, Robert re-entered the room, his face grave. "I need to go now," he said, his voice steady. "But before I leave, I want to offer you something." Emma looked up at him, confused. "What do you mean?" Robert smiled, but it wasn't the smile of a man who had just been offered a warm meal and a place to stay. It was the smile of a man who had seen something extraordinary in her. "I'm offering you a new life, Emma. One where you don't have to struggle anymore. You have the potential to do something incredible, and I want to help you achieve it. Consider this a reward for your kindness." Emma's heart raced as the weight of his words hit her. Was he serious? Did he really mean what he said? Before she could respond, Robert turned to Jake, who had been silently watching the entire exchange. "Say goodbye to Emma, son," Robert said, his voice soft. "We'll be in touch." As Robert and Jake walked out the door, Emma stood frozen, unable to move. She had just helped a stranger, and in return, he was offering her a life beyond her wildest dreams. But was she ready for it? Was she ready to step into a world that was so far beyond the one she knew?